Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for taking the time and joining us today. We'll let a couple more people in. All right, welcome. So today we are in the last conversation of a three-part series around digital marketing. If you joined us in the past, you know I love to see an active chat. So go ahead and drop a hi, share your name, what organization you're with. Let's warm up that chat. Okay, so while you're doing that, my name is Yen Ting, and I am Program Associate with Aparo. Today's webinar is focused on digital advertising, and Eden, I see that she's joined us. In the past she's led our past two webinars, and so she's back with us today, and she has also invited an expert around digital advertising to help lead the conversation today. So very excited for that. But before I turn it over to them, you know, I got to do some housekeeping items. Okay, so the webinar is being recorded. A few of you have asked where the recording goes. So it actually goes onto our Aparo website. If you haven't visited our website where it lists all of our webinars, I recommend you to go there. There might be some past webinars that you haven't seen that might be of use to you. So the link will be in the deck that I will be sharing with you all. Also, you will receive a follow-up email. It will have the link to the recording as well as all the slide decks that are being shown today. Any resources that come up in our conversation, I'll actually be jotting them down as well. And I'll be also putting that into the follow-up email. Let's see, only a couple of you have warmed up the chat, so please keep doing that. The chat box is available for you to use to make comments, ask questions. This is a meeting format instead of a webinar format, which means you can turn on your camera, interact with the speakers more. If you want to verbally share your question, that's available as well. If you want to like raise your hand or just put in the chat, hey, I have a question, we'll be sure to address you. And then finally, we do have closed captioning available to you. Some of you may already notice you have the subtitles, so feel free to use that. If you want to hide that, you just need to go to the live transcript button. It should be close to your chat button. And there will be an option for you to hide or show the subtitles. Okay, a little bit about Aparo. So we are also a nonprofit, and our mission is to support other nonprofits with technology expertise and resources that will help amplify their community impact. So you can see this visual is the model that we follow to help support our mission. So you can see we work to connect nonprofits with skilled volunteers in the areas of advice, education, and solutions. So those are the main three buckets that we work under. Again, I'll be sharing this deck with you so you guys can look at it more closely if you'd like, but real quick, under advice, it's essentially one-on-one consulting. So if you have some quick technology need or pain point that you want to discuss with someone, we have that for you. Under education, we have these webinars as well as team trainings. And then under solutions, we have like a larger projects. So for example, if you're looking for a donor management system, that will fall under our solutions service. And then if you want to learn more about Aparo, about our services or how to connect with us, feel free to visit our website, aparo.org/nonprofits. I'll have to list all the things I described today, but in more detail. And also there'll be an area for you to submit any requests when or if you need some of our support. Also, if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, that's the link for subscribing to that. And then if you want to connect with me directly, my email is there as well. All right, that is it for me. I'm happy to turn it over to our speakers now, Eden and Tim.
Hello, thank you. I'll share my screen and we'll get started. So I assume everybody can see the screen and they can hear me.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So yeah, today we're just kind of talking about digital advertising on social media. Feel free to jump in, ask questions either in the chat, which I probably can't see, but Eden is here to help me with that. She'll be jumping in with some of her content ideas, or feel free to unmute yourself and jump in and just ask the question and we'll get to them. So the main things that we're going to touch on are Facebook and Instagram. We probably can answer questions about other social channels that you guys are using. And we've also received a few questions about Google Grants. And I think that's an opportunity for many nonprofits. So we can talk about that a little bit. And there's also many resources that we provided at the end of the deck. So like I said, feel free to jump in with questions, comments, anything else while we go through this. I'll quickly tell you a little bit about myself. I'm currently a digital marketer, media director at an agency here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Before that, I worked for the Salvation Army of Charlotte. So I have experience pretty much doing all things digital for them: website, social, just taking pictures, writing posts, and obviously advertisements as well. So I have a well-rounded in the digital marketing field. Eden, would you like to say us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So first of all, can everybody hear me? My computer is having some freak out.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Fantastic. I also see that there's a duplicate of myself in the invite, so I don't know. But yeah, so for everyone who hasn't met me yet, I'm Eden Estabrook. I said I've been working primarily in the business to business space in digital marketing for a little over 5 years. So really excited to have Tim on board with us. I specialize more on the content side, and I said he's got the expertise on the advertising strategy side. So I'm really excited to combine the two of those to talk to y'all today about potential paid advertising opportunities.
Perfect. So we'll jump in right here. And the first thing I want to know is, what kind of social channels do you guys use? Feel free to yell them out or put them in the chat. Is it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram? None. And you're looking for this to kind of show you an opportunity of how to use them, just to kind of get an idea of where we're at here. So what social channels? YouTube.
Got a lot of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok. Bold.
There you go.
YouTube. Yeah, so it's like the main 5. Yeah.
Yep. We can laugh about TikTok, but obviously, as we know, that's a growing channel, and a place like the Salvation Army with Boys and Girls Club, because here in Charlotte, it's the Salvation Army and Boys and Girls Club. So that's a way to reach the members, not your donors and volunteers, but the members would be a good place for TikTok. Obviously, Facebook being one of the largest, still one of the largest. You hear about the decline, but as we'll get into some of the numbers, there are still billions of people on Facebook, still posting, still looking for content on Facebook. And then what about social ads? Do any of you guys run social ads? If you do, what channels are they on? Are they on just Facebook? Have you guys branched out to maybe some LinkedIn or Twitter? Again, feel free to yell out some answers or just put them in the chat.
Seeing a lot of Facebook and Instagram so far, so it looks like we were on the right track, Tim.
Perfect. And actually, if you guys want to put for what, do you guys just ask for donations, volunteers, a little bit of everything?
Seeing events and programs. We got some people that are starting from scratch today.
There you go. Hopefully this information can help.
Some recruiting. So it looks like events, volunteers, and recruitment are the primary ones.
All right, cool. So we've got a well-rounded audience here, which I think we did a good job kind of covering all the different bases, and hopefully some good information that you guys can take back to your team and your organization to kind of continue your efforts. First thing I wanted to touch on was just some general social media tips, not necessarily just ads. Yes, you can use some of this stuff for ads, but just also just social posts in general. Obviously, what to use social media advertising for, we kind of talked about some of this stuff. Donations. It doesn't just need to be money, but also supplies, volunteers, asking people to attend events, tickets, recruiting new supporters, and also engaging current supporters. Obviously, you always want to continue to expand that donor base, expand that volunteer base, but don't forget about your current supporters. They're already showing interest in your organization, and they're going to go out there and they're probably going to be in the front lines, first ones to donate, first ones to buy those tickets. So we'll talk a little bit about reaching new audiences, but never forget about your current audience. And then that goes perfect to know your audience. Again, not just on ads, but on organic, when you just do a normal post. Craft that message around that audience. Is that audience 40 to 60-year-old females who are mothers? They're going to talk a little different than a 22-year-old male right out of college type of thing. So just always kind of keep that in mind. And then using your call to action, what you want them to do, just craft that message right around there and be direct. Post shareable content. As we know, social media is all about engagement and posts and really being able to interact with your audience. So stories about people, success stories, partnerships in the news, fundraising campaigns, program updates, and like how many people served at a volunteer event, or if you have a goal of $50,000 to a fundraise, show your supporters where you're at with that. And then add a donation button to your social. Most of the time it'll just be on your homepage. There's a button that, maybe right now it says learn more or register or sign up for a newsletter, but you might want to make it donate. Obviously that's kind of the end goal for a lot of nonprofits. Engage with your followers, your leaders, your organizations similar to yours. So go on to other nonprofits and start a conversation, like their posts. They'll probably return it back to you and like your stuff. If you guys are similar efforts, share content as well. Kind of just really, again, it's all about that engagement, and it's going to also help. If people like your post, it's going to help you get your post in others' news feeds. So by you doing it to other people, they'll probably return the favor. More action kind of just supplies it all. Quality over quantity. I'm sure we all kind of talk about that. If you don't have something to post, you don't need to post. Don't just post the random sunset with have a nice Tuesday necessarily, because Facebook and other social media platforms will see that that's just kind of a post. And if no one's going to interact with it, it's actually going to deduct from your quality and your page. So you don't want to just do that. But that being said, you do want to post regularly, and that's going to come down to having like a content calendar, planning weeks, if not a month out and ahead. I've been in the nonprofit space. I know you guys have small teams, but maybe ask volunteers to help with a social media calendar or a strategy, and kind of like or maybe once a month, just meet with your marketing team or yourself and sit down for a couple hours and just plan out ahead. And just really, the more you get ahead, that's going to give you time to do your other tasks. Again, being part of the space, I know you get pulled in a lot of different directions. So the more organized and the more forward thinking you can think, the better you're going to be. And over here on the right,
Tim, just to quickly jump in on the content side of things, to follow up on, you guys have small teams. Don't be afraid to repurpose or reuse content. You have words on almost everything that you produce, whether it's a bulletin for an event or, a web page that you had to develop for something. You don't have to write something from scratch if you don't need to. It's pull some of the copy from one of your brochures and break it up into, a series of into a series of social posts. So don't think that because we want people, the posts on social media, that you have to sit down and write it from scratch. Feel free to repurpose and reuse. And even if a post performs really well, I've even sometimes reused the same social post and maybe changed an image or something. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a tip to help try to save y'all some time as you're thinking through your social media.
Yep, and 100% agree with doing a repost. Maybe, you know, not the same week or 2 weeks after, but a couple months if you got a good traction on that, especially if it's a blog that has a lot of views, reshare that blog. Let's see here. Okay, and then so kind of diving a little bit more into the Facebook advertising here. You know, so obviously you're using advertising to reach more supporters and build on the work that you're already doing with paid ads. That's what the paid ads are going to do. So, you know, build your following, you know, with networking, informational communication or communication, the couple different ways of looking at it. Boost posts to ensure your audience sees them. So a little different than an ad is if you have a normal post, you can actually just boost it. So similar to what Eden was saying, if you have a successful post, you actually want more people that currently follow your page to see it. You can just boost that. And you can see there in the blue block there, Facebook posts only reach an average of 4% of the nonprofit pages fans. So that kind of gives you an idea of most of your followers and your supporters are not seeing your content. So you're going to sometimes want to boost something. So if it's about, you know, looking for donations of sweaters or bottled water, and you know, if you just post it organically that your followers aren't going to see it, give it a boost, more people are going to see it. Focus on compelling and actionable images and headlines. So that's going to be that call to action. Base it on your goal. So you're not going to want to have a learn more if you're looking for donations. So make sure it is clear. Images people work best on Facebook. Bright colors also help that ad stand out a little bit more. So those are little just tips and tricks. We'll talk a little bit about it more, but I always say test. So maybe if, you know, also depending on your organization, if people really aren't part of your organization and that image doesn't make sense, don't just use a one of image because of what I just said. So you're always going to want to test different things. Eden, do you have anything when it comes to, you know, headlines and, you know, language?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately making sure that you're providing them an action so they understand what they're doing by engaging with the ad. So, you know, and trying not to be wordy about it. You know, the shorter the headline and the more direct, the better. You know, I think, you know, for example, if you're trying to get donations, you know, just have a simple, like have something very obvious on there that you're looking for donations and try to make it succinct. There's a lot of stuff flowing through your newsfeed every day. So you ultimately want things to be quick and easy for people to look at, identify if they want to move forward with it. So anything that you can think of around there to help achieve that goal is worth pursuing.
And then one of the most important things about Facebook ads and why people use Facebook ads so much is because of the Facebook targeting, that fourth bullet point there. You can really narrow down your audience and really get to, if you know who your donors are, who your volunteers are, and so you can really narrow down by advertising targeting. You can do it by age range, location, gender, languages, demographics, interests, behaviors. There's a whole list that you can find online. But just for example, moms who are interested in homelessness and make between $75,000 and $90,000 a year, you can get that targeted. You can even add on to that and they follow XYZ pages type of thing. Like you can get even more into their interests. So you can really target down if you know who your supporters are. That's the second one there. You can target by emails or website visits. So you can upload a list of emails and target those people. So these are people that you might have supported you 2 years ago, but you haven't heard from them again. Upload that list. If they're on Facebook, ads will start showing to those people again. So, you know, oh, I forgot I donated to this organization. Let me check out what they're doing recently. And then they donate again. Or website visits. It's just as simple as putting a tracking code on your website and Facebook can start pulling that information when someone lands on your website. Again, if they have a Facebook profile, you can use that audience and ads will start showing to them. And then lookalike audiences, similar to that first bullet point there, you can do a lookalike. So if you know that you moms who are interested in homelessness, there's a lookalike button that you can press, and Facebook can take all that information and say, okay, these people are similar to what you put into their system. Now they're able to kind of give people who are similar to that. And then appeal to emotion, tell your story. Just with my experience at the Salvation Army, it was 5 or 6 years I was there. Our best results were when we were able to tell that story. And, you know, if it was video, if it was a photo, and then obviously, like Eden was mentioning, just content and just having the right emotion in the words.
And we got a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
Someone is asking about the general cost to advertise on Facebook. Do you have any best practices around determining budget?
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later, but just a quick, it's really going to, you know, it depends on what you read, how comfortable you are with that. I would say, you know, maybe your first campaign, $100 to kind of just test the waters, see how it goes. And towards the end of this presentation, we'll give you some metrics to kind of look at, you know, what you want your click-through rate to be, or your conversion rate, how many people sign up, that type of thing. But I always like to say, you know, start with $100. Facebook it's going to depend on your audience, but it can be relatively cheap. So you can go a long way with just $100. Anything else, Ian?
No, somebody else was just also mentioning that I guess they're surprised that Facebook allows targeting by income. Is that a new feature?
I don't believe it's new. I used it when I was with the Salvation Army, which was probably about 3 years ago. And I don't think they've taken it away through my research and my experience with it. But yeah. All right, and then kind of just talking about the campaigns a little bit. So set an internal goal. So as you build these campaigns out, is it going to be brand awareness? Is it going to be donations? Is it going to be signups? Obviously, this is going to help you determine if your campaign was a success. So you kind of want to be organized on that end. And then also talking about internal goals, also the objective of when Facebook and Instagram, they're going to ask you what your goal is. You're going to want to kind of choose. That's important to choose because it actually helps the system determine the most effective ways to run your ads. So it makes your budget go that much further. So you want to make sure that you're kind of organized, you know what your internal goal is, but then also what the goal is for you know, your Facebook or Instagram campaign. One, for example, like that is if it is a donation, to get more donations, Facebook will actually show that ad to more people who are more likely to donate based on, you know, their user experience. So you don't want to say, okay, someone who signs up for newsletters, but really your goal is to get donations, because they're going to show it to more people who usually sign up for newsletters and not a donation. So in the campaign, you can have different ads. An ad is something that you see here on the right. And so best practice is to have 2 or 3 ads in a campaign, different images, different wording. Again, it's kind of testing a little bit, seeing what's resonating with that audience that you are targeting. You know, after a couple days or a week, you can start to see what ads are getting the most clicks, what ones are really driving people to your landing pages or your website, and then you can make adjustments through there. When it comes to bid, you want to start on the low range of the suggested bid. This is because those first few days, Facebook's actually going to prioritize your campaigns and give them that little extra boost, just to kind of give you an idea of how well your campaign is doing. Your click-through rate will quickly start to dictate the price that you'll have to pay for traffic. So if your click-through rate is high, your suggested bid will probably decrease. So that kind of gives you an idea of where your bid needs to go after the first few days. Metrics to look at: conversions. Obviously, that's if someone signs up, someone donates. someone, makes a phone call, cost per conversion. So say, I'm just throwing out numbers here, you're spending $100 and you only have one sign up, then that's $100 for that sign up. So that's probably pretty high. Probably, want to make some adjustments, maybe run a different campaign or a different audience. Maybe you're just not targeting the right people. Cost per click. So how much does it cost every time someone clicks on that ad? Click-through rate. So what's the percentage of people who are seeing your ads and then actually clicking on the ads, landing on the landing page or the website? And then just engagement, because ads, people can still like the ad and comment on the ad. So kind of giving you an idea of all that. And then keep your ads short, 5 words or less in the headline. So the headline right here is the $20 provides 200 meals for kids. So that's a headline. And then you have the description. And then I think this is just called description 2 or something like that. But you want to fill out as much information as possible. That's going to really give the user all that information that they can really use. Just to let you know, not best practice, but just kind of the first thing someone's going to look at is probably the image, but then the headline here, the bigger headline, and then they probably move up to here. So this is where you kind of want your most important information. And as you can see, there are a like button to like the page, but then down here is going to be your, your call to action. Eden, do you have anything when it comes to writing for ads? And I know you talked about it a little bit in the last slide.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything from the previous slide still applies, and just kind of what you mentioned with how people interact with an ad and what draws their attention first is just making sure, that most important information and that is highlighted in the right areas. I think you've covered everything that I would recommend.
Yep. I do just have a few other notes here, so I'm just going to read those. So, keep in mind, even if your best ads performing, even your best ads performance will decline over time. So the smaller your audience is, the faster that happen. So usually you'll see your traffic start to drop in 7 to 10 days. That's going to happen. Maybe at that point, you just kind of update your ad copy if your audience or your traffic is dropping too much. Obviously, it kind of comes down to just, how often people are seeing your ads. Facebook takes that into consideration. A low click-through rate indicates that either your ad creatives doesn't appeal to your audience or that your ad targeting itself is off. Again, so maybe you have the right audience, but your creative, your wording isn't resonating for them, or maybe your audience is off. And you have the right wording, but you're just targeting people who aren't interested in that. Now kind of moving over to Instagram. Before I go to Instagram, there's a lot of connections between the two because Facebook owns Instagram. Does anybody have any questions about Facebook or what I kind of talked about?
We have one in the chat. Somebody asked, they use ads to promote ticketed events, and they're wondering if there's a way to track conversions outside of Facebook since they use a third-party ticketing platforms. Is there any sort of integrations allowed with Facebook advertising that you're aware of?
Yeah, there definitely is. I don't know what the third party you use, but Facebook does have a lot of different integrations where I would be surprised if your third party doesn't connect with that. I would check with the third party first. They probably have some sort of here's what to do if you want to connect to Facebook. Google is always your best friend when it comes to that. I'm sure there's plenty of YouTube videos and such, but Facebook is, obviously they want you to use their ads. So they're going to be very friendly, user friendly when it comes to, ticketing and events and stuff like that. That being said, I believe Facebook also has a ticketing platform as well. So you could always maybe try to use that, but third party is always nice. You can pull some different data. Just moving over to Instagram, like I said, Facebook and Instagram are very similar and can be set up in the same business manager account. And I probably should have touched on this a little bit, but so pretty much Facebook has this business manager account, and that's where you build all your ads. We can add a resource at the end of this document or this deck to kind of walk you through how to set that up and everything. But You do all of it under the same business manager account, which is nice. Research does show that the best posting times for nonprofits are during weekdays in the afternoon, but test it for yourself, like I mentioned. So maybe a lot of your supporters are on the West Coast. So, you posting at East Coast time in the afternoon is not going to work. Or maybe a lot of your supporters are working during the day and they just go on Facebook or Instagram at night. So it's all about testing. So post at different times and see what the data you see. Use relevant hashtags. Hashtags are those things with like the dollar, no, not dollar sign, but the
Sign.
the pound, yeah, yeah, the pound there, and then a phrase after. So maybe it's Charlotte, pound hashtag Charlotte homelessness, and other people who are interested in that that topic can like search under that and see all the posts that are related to that hashtag. So you're just reaching a wider audience and you gain more engagement on your posts. So that's maybe the audience that follows you or that you're targeting, you just don't have that right now, but using hashtags, you can reach those more people. What to post on Instagram: quotes, behind the scene pictures and videos. That's just kind of some of the stuff that people do enjoy watching or seeing on Instagram. And add highlights. So that's the line. I should have added a photo. I do apologize. That's the line of posts under your bio. So those are stories that have been saved and been added to that. So, stories right now, they go away after 24 hours. Same thing with a post. They don't go away, but they're pushed down in people's feeds. So if you add a highlight, it stays there forever. And so you might have a column that says donations, and people can click on that under the bio and they can see like, okay, this is what they want donations for, or here's people who did donate. So it's kind of just like an evergreen. Invite your Facebook community to your Instagram. So post on Facebook, hey guys, we have an Instagram, go check it out. It's all about just building that follower base. Maybe that Facebook community, someone on Facebook, they see it because they're on Instagram more often. And so they're going to see your stuff more than when they go on Facebook. Storytelling, create videos, and has become increasingly popular. So it's, again, I know it can be tough with being a nonprofit. You're a one-person team. Maybe you don't have the resources, but phones can do wonders these days. So just, pull out your phone if you see that opportunity and create a video and see how that does. And then twice as much on Facebook, that actually has to do with ads. So, and how much it costs. So it is a little bit more expensive on Instagram to advertise. So just keep that in mind, but it's going to be a different audience. You're going to be kind of using different assets. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. But you can be creative with it. Eden, anything to add here or any questions?
Yeah, just something to add is that all of this is also great information for if you're doing Instagram organically. And in the comments, we've got some people talking about hashtags and wondering about their relevancy. I 100% do believe that they are relevant, especially on Instagram. I do agree, Facebook probably not as much, but they do have some merit. And I'm putting a link in the chat right now by a social media scheduling platform called Hootsuite, where they kind of break down why hashtags are still relevant. So I would definitely recommend pulling together a hashtag bank of sorts for both your organic and your paid advertisements. Yeah, definitely, it's definitely worth the investment. And thankfully, once you do it, you really don't have to do it again. So yeah.
Yeah, and when I say relevant, you don't want to just put like hashtag Carolina Panthers if your post is about trying to get donations from, like, yeah, you're going to get a wider audience, but those people who are following that Carolina Panther hashtag aren't interested in yours, so they're just going to slide right through. So you want to kind of stay relevant when it comes to that stuff. All right, and then diving a little bit more into the advertising part. So there's a great way to promote reoccurring events, so that your supporters see what your last event looked like and be inspired to sign up for the next one. So since, like I was saying, since Facebook owns Instagram, you can run Instagram ads on the same place as your Facebook ads. So go through your Facebook ad manager and you're able to promote things that way. Ways to fundraise on Instagram. So a lot of what people are currently doing are the fundraising on Instagram. You can create fundraisers and add it to a post, story, or like a Instagram live. So you can see here on the right, this is just probably a story, but they created a fundraiser, and you're able to have like this image and this button to have, you know, that people can see when they're looking at your Instagram story. It links to the active fundraiser. Will also be added to the profile bio of the fundraiser creator as well, so that people can actually create fundraisers. If they're a supporter, I believe they can create fundraisers through like Instagram. It's a support for you as well. And that goes to my next one. Add a support button to your profile or to create a group fundraiser. That's what I was just talking about there. Encourage supporters to raise money on your behalf. So Instagram makes that easy for the user as well. It allows people to see opportunities in one easy to find place. And then you can add a donation sticker to your stories. It's going to be similar to this on the right. Yeah, this isn't a sticker, but you know, you can add a sticker. Again, they hit on it, they can go to different websites. And then group fundraisers, which I kind of talked about above. Again, those are a little different things that you can do with Instagram advertising and then the fundraiser in general. It's also a perfect place to share updates on ongoing campaigns. That way, anyone who's new to your Instagram account can easily tap into them and see everything that's happening all in one spot. And yeah, and then talking about the fundraisers here, it kind of just goes into a little bit more detail. We have some resources to kind of how to set that up, but mostly it's going to be through the manager, Facebook manager. Any questions about Instagram advertising? Honestly, I've never used it. It just wasn't something that we used in my nonprofit experience. But it does sound like there's a lot of different ways to grab people's attention and then bring them in as supporters. All right. Now I'm going to jump over to the Google Ads grant. So does anybody have questions about just advertising on any social platform before I dive into this?
Give people a second to put something
Yep.
in the chat. I have one. I'm not seeing anything, so I say go ahead and dive in, and when we get to questions at the end, we can revisit any that pop up.
Yep. One thing before I jump into this, one thing I did want to say is a page like we're kind of talking about, kind of getting that organic social or even advertisements. A page like, a share, or just a click on your website, it might not mean that much right now, but it's a start of a long-term relationship, right? We all know that most people aren't just going to click on a web page and donate if they don't know about your organization, but you're going to be able to connect with them for, you know, years to come, and maybe it takes them a while to donate. I know at the Salvation Army, we kind of ran a campaign to get younger college kids involved, knowing that if they stayed involved for years, when they grew up and had careers, they could be a donor at some point. So you kind of always want to just kind of keep that in mind, where, okay, this person just liked this, you know, the post got a handful of likes, but they do add. It's all about that lifetime value. Talking about the Google grant. So Google grant or Google Ads. So that's a quick example of that is if you type in Nike sneakers into Google, those first few posts there will be ads. So they're companies that are paying to be in those top positions. And so they are actually eligible, nonprofits are eligible for $10,000 each month to spend on Google search ads. And then there are some things that you have to be eligible for, and then some organizations that you're not eligible. And there are resources on the next slide or two that kind of explain a little bit more about it. There are things where you have to like keep a certain click-through rate and spend a certain amount of money. I run Google Ads a lot for my agency right now, mostly business to business, so not so much nonprofits, but we are using it for one nonprofit that we do have, and we're seeing success. So, you know, if people are searching Charlotte homelessness or volunteering at Charlotte, if you wanted to add to say like, hey, volunteer with us, if someone searches that term, then you can use this Google grant to show on that search. Does anybody have questions about the ad grant and how that works? Like I said, I did put some resources in the other slides where you can kind of follow along how to sign up, what the next steps are. Google, it's not that hard to set up the ads and get those running, especially when you have the grant set up. It's kind of be able to run itself, but it will take some manpower to kind of set up your account and whatnot.
A question that we had received ahead of time was, are they worth it? And are there other alternatives? Because from what we understand, it is a pretty tough process. So if it's not worth it, is there any other ways that they could leverage Doodle to advertise?
Yep. Like I said, the one organization that we use it for in my current role, we are seeing results. It can be tough to set up and kind of get the Google account set up and everything. But if you think about it, it's $10,000 that you're able to just spend that's free. Even if you ask for donations through your ads, but you don't really, you only get a couple $100, it's still a free couple $100 that you've got. Maybe it's something you try out, and then if it takes too much time out of your day or it just doesn't work, then maybe, but free money, especially for nonprofits, never a bad thing. In terms of kind of utilizing Google in other ways, in terms of like advertising, there aren't any. There are some Google things that you can use to, like Google Analytics in metric wise, to see how your website is doing, that type of, like, where the traffic's coming from. So you can use Google Analytics and some other things to make sure that your web pages are being ranked appropriately, kind of showing up on page 1 and stuff. But in terms of ads, this would be your best bet. Anything else?
I'm curious, did you provide any resources on setting up your website with Doodle Analytics? Because I'm assuming that would also be needed to effectively leverage an ad.
I didn't. I can add that to a slide here. I don't believe that you need Google Analytics. All the information that you're going to need is going to be directly into the Google ad account. So that's where you're going to see the clicks, how many times your ad's showing, who's coming from where. So Google Analytics and Google Ads are a little different. So you don't necessarily need that. But I do always recommend having Google Analytics. So I can definitely supply some resources around that.
Yeah, I figured you might have one of those on hand.
Yeah.
One thing just from my research on the Doodle ad branch is I have heard that it's a pretty lengthy process. And I have seen a couple of questions that were provided ahead of time on looking for a third-party digital marketing partner. And so a few people have asked what to look for when maybe you're trying to evaluate a third-party partner. Do you have any advice in that regards?
Yes. So you want someone who has experience with Google Ads. I agree. Third-party partners are good. Someone who has experience with Google Ads, someone that's going to kind of tell the story, not just give you what I like to say is fluffy metrics. Like oh, you had this many clicks and your ad was shown 300 times. That's fluffy metrics. You're going to want to tell someone, you want someone who's going to be able to tell you, okay, so they clicked on this ad. This ad was talking about, had this messaging, and this messaging is working the best. So that way you can actually bring what you learn in Google Ads or any other advertising that you do, and maybe put it on your website. Maybe you have a Google ad that does really well. You get a lot of signups or donations from that ad, and it talks about like a certain pain point or a certain value proposition or a certain message that you don't always use on your website. You take that, put it on your website, it can make your website that much better. So kind of, always learning from the metrics, not just giving them out there for you. So I'm sure there's third-party platforms out there that use Google Ad Grants as well. And so, like I said, there are certain metrics that you have to hit monthly. So the more experience they have with those, the more likely you're going to have a successful account. I do have a few more slides, so I'm going to move forward here. So just make it easy on yourself. Like I said, create an editorial calendar to stay organized and plan ahead. I did leave some free tools here. There's to see metrics, calendars, scheduling of posts, emails like MailChimp, design like Canva, Hootsuite and Sprout Social. You can schedule things and see some metrics. All these have free additions. So, sign up for those, play around with those, just make your life easier. Here's some newsletters that I found helpful. Sign up for those. Check out their websites every once in a while. They have really good resources. Look at industry leaders and borrow ideas. So if you're a nonprofit that focuses on children, look at, the Boys and Girls Club, see what they do on social. Look at United Way or any other nonprofit that might focus on children as well. See what, and borrow their ideas of what they post on social or their website, and then ask for help. Attend these webinars. All these organizations where these newsletters have webinars as well. Ask your volunteers, hey, is anybody really good at writing? Can you write a few social posts for me? Ask your board members. Your board members are already key stakeholders in your organization. They care about the cause. They care about what you do. So they're going to want to help as well. And then also, community, nonprofit, social media forums. There's everybody, all these questions that you asked today and you're going to have down the road, there's other people and other organizations that have the same questions. So it's probably out there in the community on some sort of forum. So always look around. And then kind of just talking about a little bit about some benchmarks and stats that we were able to find. It's weird. It's tough to find for nonprofits like exactly benchmarks and some stats. I don't know if it's just tough for organizations to report on that stuff or what, but so this kind of gives you an idea. CPC is cost per click. CPM is cost per metric, maybe. Eden, if you want to look that up real quick, and then cost CTR is cost click-through rate. So it kind of just gives you an average of a Facebook stat. And so if your click-through rate is closer to 2 or 3, that's obviously you're doing pretty good. The average organic reach in Facebook posts is 5%. We kind of talked about that. So only 4 to 5% of the people are actually seeing your posts. So maybe you want to boost the typical post. And like I mentioned, Facebook is still king when it comes to monthly users. Marketers are using it, and then people spend an average of almost 20 hours a month on Facebook. So your audiences are there. You just have to reach them, know how to reach them, and get out in front of them. And then average nonprofit posts almost 2 to 9 times a week. That actually surprised me, but looking at it, it's probably, having events or looking for donations. So they're, posting multiple times, maybe posting multiple videos of a event that you held, kind of thing. And then again, some just resources, kind of just diving a little bit more into the ads and the Instagram, and then the 2 Google grants. and then organic social media tips. So we talked a little bit about organic, but wanted to provide a little bit more for you guys.
Just to
And
jump
that-
in, so the organic social media tips. So that's actually a blog that I wrote. And what I did and what I want to just highlight is I actually did research for y'all on the demographics that use the different social media platforms. So I wrote it in 2022. So it's the most current, just because sometimes, one thing that we do a lot in marketing is, certain platforms don't work for everybody. Facebook may be a winner and Instagram isn't, or, we use LinkedIn a lot in the B2B platform, but you really don't in the B2C or business to consumer. So a lot of times you can take that first step to determine what platform is going to work best by just getting an idea for who's on those platforms. If you're targeting an older demographic, most of them are on Facebook versus Instagram and TikTok. If you're looking for, recruiting younger volunteers, you may want to go more towards Instagram or TikTok. So if you're unsure of where to start, I would definitely look at that, the research that I compiled in that article. And I also put some best practices for character counts, just because there are best practices for them. There's also, there's how many characters you can use and how many you should use. And I definitely highly recommend taking advantage of that, because character count can matter, since, you think about it, your news feed is packed. So any little thing that you can do to get an edge is helpful. And honestly, you'll be writing less if you follow the character counts. So I just wanted to highlight that resource. Definitely check it out. And if you're looking to figure out where can I start to figure out which platforms to go towards or to spend more time on, I would definitely take a look at what demographics are primarily on those. So fantastic. I know we've got 9 minutes left. So Tim, I was just wondering I guess first and foremost, does anybody have any questions that they would just want to shout out here? If not, we have some questions that were asked ahead of time that we can visit, but always like to have a conversation with the people that are on our meeting. So if you have any, drop them in the chat or shout them out. Cool. Well, we can visit the list that we got some time for a couple of the questions that were added. Do we have a blog that takes a deep dive into the Doodle ad grants? Tim, I believe you put a resource to one that will help with it.
It's one is actually direct from Google, and then the other is a blog. It's not one that Eden wrote, so it's probably not as good as if she wrote it. But it does give a pretty detailed description of what needs to be done, how to do it.
Cool, because I know there's a couple of those at the deck and I know Yentine will be sending that out to everybody. How do giveaways help with engagement? Yeah,
giveaways are obviously, people love free stuff and being able to interact, so that's going to help with engagement, especially if your giveaway is like this post, comment in this post, tag someone, and have an opportunity to win a free shirt or whatever it might be, a ticket to an event. So that is going to help, but engagement is one of those things like, okay, they engaged with it. Really, they only engaged with it because they wanted that free thing. So in terms of like really getting that supporter to do that action that you want them to do down the road might not be the best way. But that being said, I will say with posts that get more engagement, they're going to be seen in more feeds. So I might follow your organization, and normally, that 4 to 5% is only going to see it. But if you have a post that has 100 likes, 50 comments, Facebook's going to see that and be set, or Instagram, and say, okay, let me share that in Tim's feed because this has a lot of engagement. So there's, it can't hurt, but you're probably not going to get that like final action that you want when it comes to like donations, volunteers.
Since we have 5 minutes and this one might be a doozy, I don't know. Somebody asked about geofencing and how to effectively use that. Is that something you can speak to? I've personally not done geofencing, so that's all you.
Yeah, well, in Facebook advertising, you can really get down into the zip code and so location. So it's not technically geo fencing in the terms I believe you're talking about, but in terms of really narrowing down where you want to target, you can do that in Facebook. I've never done true geo fencing. I know there are third party organizations that can do it for you, and so it might be worth it. But Facebook targeting can get pretty narrow on the location.
How would a nonprofit determine if LinkedIn is a good spot for them to do advertising?
Yeah, that's a good question. And Eden, I believe we talked about this and you kind of had a thought, not, yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think, okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, so I know from a B2B side of things, we use LinkedIn a lot for the same reason that we don't use Facebook and Instagram. It's a demographic. LinkedIn does have really in-depth targeting, which can be really helpful. And I think I used the example when I was talking to Tim about, for Aparo, who's looking to, attract volunteers who work in business, LinkedIn might be a really good fit for them. However, if you're looking for volunteers, is that demographic going to be on LinkedIn? I don't know. I think, Tim's mentioned several times testing, and you can always test and see how it goes. But I think unless you're trying to engage on like a business level, like in Aparo trying to, get a consulting firm to join as volunteers where they might try advertising that way. If you're just trying to go after individuals on a more personal level, a Facebook or Instagram would probably be the best start. But I also wanted to see, Tim, if you have anything to add on how to evaluate LinkedIn, definitely jump in.
Yeah, that was good. One thing to think about is why is your audience on this platform? So with LinkedIn, most of the time they're going to be on it because they're looking to network or job opportunities. So they're probably not going to be on that network looking to donate or volunteer. So keep that in mind. When it comes to LinkedIn advertising, it's expensive. It's more expensive than the other two that we looked at. There is targeting very similar to Facebook, not as narrow when it comes to like geo or income, but so that does give you an idea, but it will be expensive.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for your insight. It's 12:57. We probably have time for one more if we talk fast. Oopsie, sorry, looking at my list, y'all. Try to find one we can answer quickly, and I'm wasting time while doing that. So how often should you change the ad? Or how often should you optimize it, I should say?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say when you kind of see that traffic starting to slip or your click-through rate to go down. So obviously, I would say I think they mentioned it about 7 to 10 days is when you'll kind of start seeing your metrics go down a little bit. So just keep an eye on it. I mean, if your click-through rate starts at 5 and it stays at 5, you don't need to change it. But if it started at 5, slowly going down to 3, then a few days later, it's going down to 2, probably time to change that. It either means it's not resonating with the audience anymore, or maybe everybody's already seen that ad, especially if your Facebook following is a little smaller or your targeting audience is smaller, and it was 500 people might already have seen it. They might not click on it the 3rd, 4th, 5th time they've seen it. So I think that's it. I want to thank you guys for everything, and thanks for having me. And our contact information is on the deck, I believe. If not, we can add it, and feel free to reach out with questions. I'm happy to help.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you both, Eden and Tim. You guys have been amazing. What an engaging hour. Thank you guys so much for volunteering your time and sharing your expertise. Really appreciate it. I don't have your deck yet, so please email that to me so I can be sure to distribute it to everybody here. Thank you, everyone else, for taking the time to join us today. I will be sending out that follow-up email by tomorrow. It'll include the link to the recording as well as deck and any resources that came up today, including in the chat. You guys know how to reach me as well. And that's it for today. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye.